Brent Brennan, Seth Doege, Danny Gonzales, all extended. Gonzales and Doege through 2028, and Brent Brennan through 2030. And per Michael Lev, it seems like the pool of salary for the overall assistant coaching staff has been increased to the third largest in the Big 12. That feels significant, doesn't it, Damon?
Yeah, it really does. It feels like, an investment being made into Arizona football here. Brent Brennan, now his salary itself is not going to jump off the page at you. It was, in fact, one of the lower in the conferences, or in the major conferences, I should say. So I think that it allowed for Arizona to maybe go out and kind of expand their assistant coaching pool a little bit more and kind of invest into that side of things, because Brent Brennan's coming from San Jose State. He's coming from a program that wasn't paying the big bucks, so it wasn't like, he needed a big, giant, massive salary to be, brought from San Jose State over to Tucson. So I think that, he was making in the $3 million range, had him at one of the lower Power 4 coaches in the sport. And then now this bump up in salary to get into that mid $4 million range, Kevin, is more along the lines of what you'll see in the Big 12 conference. I saw Tyler Warden tweet out that he's making now what Dave Aranda is making at Baylor. So I think, Brent Brennan is being aptly paid for about, what you would expect. Like, if he was maybe a bit more of a coveted coach, maybe he's looking at a Big 12 raise where, he's one of the highest paid guys in this conference. But instead, I think he gets more along the lines of what the rest of the coaches in this conference are making. And then you see a big salary increase, probably for Seth Doege and Danny Gonzales to keep them around at this program rather than having them find new ventures elsewhere for more money.
I think this is also huge for the overall health of the athletic program, but more specifically the football program. And we talk about it all the time, right? What follows a good season at Arizona? A bad season usually, or at least an underwhelming one. Once you have a little bit of expectation as to what could happen next year, it feels like the team lets you down. But I think that this is DRF. This is the athletic department showing interest in maintaining high-level success at Arizona. You were one win away, maybe a couple opt-outs away from a 10-win season and a quarterback with a second bowl win, which is pretty unheard of at Arizona, right? So I think that this is the school, the program investing back into itself, saying, I believe in what Brent Brennan is building here. I believe in what Seth Doege is calling on the offensive side of the thing. And most honestly, importantly, I believe that Danny Gonzales should stay here and keep one of the best defenses in the country in Tucson. So I think this is a huge coup, honestly, for the athletic program. We talked about it as soon as the season wrapped up. How soon can you lock up your OC and DC, right? Because we know Brent Brennan, I say this with literally all due respect, we know he is the vibes guy right there, right? But if you can get Seth Doege locked up, if you can get Danny Gonzales locked up, you have quite the foundation going forward to build off of, especially in the recruiting ranks, right?
I think that you see a coach like Brent Brennan and his coordinator hires are almost everything, and that's no disrespect, but we saw that in year one with Brent Brennan in 2024. What did it look like when Dino Babers was the offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
It was an absolute unmitigated disaster. And so you got to avoid that. You find a guy in Seth Doege who you feel very confident in. First time Seth Doege is calling plays at a Power 4 level, and he showed a lot of promise. I think that he showed Arizona fans that that's a guy that you want to stick around. Now, Danny Gonzales is a little bit of a different conversation. That guy might have, maybe should have been the Broyles Award winner, right? Like the way in which that he flipped that defense on its head from one year to the next. And it seems, we've heard it straight from Danny Gonzales' mouth, essentially. He had other opportunities to leave this program and maybe find, quote unquote, greener pastures elsewhere. But he wanted to stay in Tucson, stay with this build of this program, and live in a place that I think that him and his family are happy at. So, you get kind of a situation where both guys probably would be coveted by other programs. And you noted, Kevin, and I think this is smart. Like when you sign as a coordinator, you're typically signing a 3-year contract. These guys were brought in last season, which would sign them through 2025, 2026, 2027. This contract only extends them through 2028. So it's only a 1-year extension. It's not like you are just adding a million years onto these guys' contracts. Now, like I said, a 3-year contract for a coordinator is typical. I think that, this allots that amount of time where you're now sitting at 3 years. But I think just, as you highlighted, I think it more goes to show that the outcome here that was being desired was to give a big pay increase to these coordinators rather than lock them up for a significant period of time. Maybe unlike what Brent Brennan had happen, where he gets locked up through 2030 and gets another couple years extended onto his deal.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where, like you said, you and I were talking about this pre-show. If you're the athletic department, after year one of Brent Brennan, I think it's safe to say you're not completely sure that he's the guy for the job at that point, right?
100%.
Obviously, bringing him back shows that they had some level of faith that he could turn it around and be the guy. But after that first year, you have no way of being completely sure that he's the guy, right? But the coordinators you have brought in their first year, under their new, I guess Danny Gonzales would have a new contract if he got promoted, but the first year at the program for Seth Doege, right? They absolutely knock it out of the ballpark. But you kind of knew that was an option coming in, according to what Danny Gonzales has been able to do at his past stops as DC, according to what Seth Doege was able to do at his last stop of Marshall. These were two very promising hires at the time, right? Albeit some question marks around what Danny Gonzales was able to do with his specific position group the year prior, but that's kind of neither here nor there. Like I told you pre-show, and I'll bring it to the pod, I was like, wait, 2028? How did the contract expire? This must be a pay raise. And now, obviously, I'm not sure of the actual details of it, but it feels like this is hey, we'll give you an extra year and a couple extra X amount of dollars on top to make sure that you stay happy and you stay in Tucson. Because what are some coaches across the country moaning and complaining about when it comes to contract negotiation time? Yes, their own salary, but oftentimes it's, hey, how much can you pay my assistants to make sure that I have a good foundation under me to keep winning here? Because it's not just head coach getting the job done. It's also the position coaches. It's also you know what I mean? So making sure you have that pool is really important. I'm happy with the extensions, but I'm ecstatic about Lev's tweet about the increased assistant coaching salary pool, honestly.
Yeah, I think it goes to show that there is a commitment and investment that is being made into Arizona football. And that's all you really want to see as an Arizona football fan, right? Because we know the basketball team is going to get investment. We know Tommy Lloyd is going to find a way to make it work, even if he doesn't have the resources that maybe like a Kentucky or a Duke might have. But I think that the football program will only work if it's given resources that at least makes it middle of the pack, right? We're not expecting Arizona to go toe-to-toe with SEC schools or Big Ten schools and maybe pony up that kind of money, but you want to be competitive in your own conference. And that's what we're seeing here is the Arizona football, Arizona athletics investing to a level of being competitive in the Big 12 conference that, gives you a shot year in and year out. And then now it's up to Brent Brennan and that staff to figure things out.